This is our second class, and so here I will be explaining about the difference between file system and database management system. Like, I'll come up with some of the terms to explain you why the traditional file system got replaced with database management system. And as I'm talking about database, so obviously I will be working with SQL database in my recording sessions. So resulting to it, we need to install SQL in our system. So I have already installed it. So have you installed SQL in your system? Okay, fine. So, okay, we'll come up to the installation part later on. So let me first explain you about these two terms. So basically SQL come up with two terms. One is the backend and other one is the front end. So this one, the SQL Server act as the backend. What backend means? Backend means it provides memory allocation to the code which we will run on the front end. And SQL's Management Studio on the other side act as the front end where we will run the programs. Like the front end where we will run the code, will create database, will create tables or altering any kind of code which we will run on it, and the memory allocation will be provided by the SQL Server. This is the backend of SQL. Okay, so we need to install both of them. Um, so for installing this, you can follow up my video. There is a free video for the installation part. If you are stuck somewhere, then you can ask me. I'll drop my mail ID today to you. And so let's come up with the terms which differentiates database with file system. So first of all, it's saying that the data can't be destroyed easily. So what do we mean by that? Basically, when we store the data in file system, anyone can make changes in the file. There is no role based data, so data can be destroyed very easily in file system. As um, on the other hand, in database management system, the data can't be destroyed easily, right? And if I talk about the next thing, that is, it is based on client server architecture. Now, what do we mean by client server architecture? Basically, client server architecture means multiple users can access the data at the same time. Okay. And see, if I talk about a file system, let us go with. So let us assume that this is a file system and this is the database management system. So within file system, what happens is there is a PC, or sorry, there is something, and only a single user is able to access this data or to modify this data, right? But on the other hand, if I talk about database management system, many users, multiple users can access this data at the runtime, and the admin can modify it, and if the admin provides the role to some users, then they can also modify the data. Basically here, so many users or multiple users can access the data, so that is known as client server architecture. This way we also keep the data secure, right? So if I go to the next point, that is less memory consumption and less processing time. Now, how database management system takes less memory or takes less processing time? How does that happens? So basically what happens is, let us assume that here in file system, let me first go with the names. So here in file system, and here we are on DBMS. So in file system, let us assume that we are having a data of 25 GB, and here also we are having the same data stored. Okay. And now I want to access data of 1 KB from here. So what will happen over here? In file system, there is no data which is stored in the object, or we can't use any specific query for that. So whenever we try to get access to some data, what will happen is it will provide us the whole file. That means the whole 25 GB file will get downloaded in our PC, right? Which is not needed at all. So it is consuming enough memory, as well as it will take a lot of processing time, because we are downloading 25 GB, which is not needed at all. And on the other hand, if I talk about DBMS, so here the data is stored on objects, and those objects are stored in some languages. We will use a specific language to store our data. So here I can use a specific query, like I'll go with select 1 KB from 25 GB. So it will only provide me 1 KB of data. So it will take less processing time. And here, no memory consumption, right? So it will take very less memory for consumption. So this is the difference between how DBMS is superior to file system. Now, if I talk about the next term, that is, do not need any path to reach up to the data. Now, what they are saying is, in file system, basically what happens is we go to some path. Like, let us assume that we are keeping our data on downloads. Within downloads, I made a folder named as documents, and within documents, the file name is file. Like, we need some path, right? And if we don't have that path, then it is not easy for us to reach up to that file. But here we will just use a specific query. The data is not stored on any path, like it is stored at any path, but we can just get it with some specific query of the language which we are using. So we will be using the structured query language over here, SQL, to find the data, or to use the select queries or retrievable language queries. Fine. Now if I talk about the next difference, that is no concurrency in DBMS. The obvious thing is here there may be repetition, there may be duplicates, and there may be repeated values in our database file system, right? But on the other hand, DBMS do not face these kind of issues. We can apply the primary key constraints, or foreign key constraints. Even we can provide no nulls. There are so many restraints that can be applied over here. So we can use many more privileges to control the concurrency in DBMS, right? Like many more are there. And if I talk about the next term, that is database is secure or role-based database access. Okay, let me assume that, let us take an example of the data of a school. Let us assume that this is the data. And here I'm having the data of a school where I'm storing the data in the form of rows and columns. And this is database management. Okay, fine. So here, if any user is trying to get any data, then what he need to do? He just need to provide the username and password, and he can access, or he or she can access the whole data, which is not acceptable at all, because the user can make changes in the data which is not appreciated. On the other hand, if I talk about database management system, so here the data is stored in role-based access. That means the admin will provide roles to different users. Like this is the user for the students, this is the user made for the staff, and this is the user which is made for the admin. Let us assume that the students can access this and the staff members can access this, and here the admin can only access this. So what will happen when a student will try to access the data, he will only able to see this much data. He won't be able to see the data of admin, he won't be able to see the data of staff, which is very nice. We can keep the data secure like this. So this is what we mean by role-based system, and here the staff can access this much data and the admin can access this much data or the whole data as provided according to the DBA, database administrator. Fine. So this is how the data gets secure in database management system, and then comes no redundancy. Obviously, to remove the redundancy and the concurrency, we can apply foreign keys constraints, primary key constraints, and many more things. Okay. Now let's go to different types of sources which different companies use to store their data. We have already discussed about it, which all databases are mainly used. So we'll go through. Wait a second. Okay. So we will be using flat files, SQL, Oracle. Wait a second. मम्मी यार क्या कर रहे हो? बातें कर रहे हो कब से? Okay, sorry for the interruption. Let's continue. Yeah. So we will also be using PostgreSQL, IBM DB2. Like I will be using these all files to explain you about the these all terms. So I will be using Oracle while using Informatica. I will be using PostgreSQL while using or working with Pentaho data integration. We will be also working with SQL files and flat files. Okay, so we'll go through all of them one by one. Now let me explain you about some of the SQL objects as we are going to cover SQL. So basically SQL objects contain data object, schema object, and table object. Within data object we only have the user, that means the admin. Okay, if there are multiple users, like I'm not only talking about the admin, the data object can contain also multiple users. Like this is the single user, then we can have multiple users like this. So data object will contain all of the user that is present in our database. Fine. And now if I talk about the schema object, what do we mean by that? Basically the schema object will contain the schema, the tables, and the views. Fine. So schema object will contain the whole schema, um, different types of schema like tables, views. And now if I talk about tables, what tables will contain is, table will contain rows and columns. Fine. So this is what the SQL is. Now we will learn about the different languages of SQL. So there are some basic languages as well as the extended form of languages in SQL. We'll first cover the basic languages, and after that I'll move to the extended part of the languages of SQL, like T-SQL, SQL with procedural features, stored blocks. We'll learn about stored procedures, triggers, functions afterwards. But now let me tell you the basic languages of ETL on which all the we can say all the codes or all um, the commands are surrounded on. Okay, so different languages have different commands in it. Now first of all, if I explain about DDL, what do we mean by DDL? Basically DDL means data definition language. The language which is defining the data is known or comes within DDL. The second one is DML. DML means data manipulating language. Whenever we want to modify the data, like we want to add any column to the existing table. Like let us assume that we have already created the table and now we want to add some more columns. Then how can we add that? Or let us assume that we have already created the table, we have added the columns, but now we want to change the data type of that, of any column. Then how can we do that? With the help of data manipulating language. So the data manipulating language will be helpful for modifying the data, for making validations. And if I come up with the next language, that is data query language, the the language that will be helpful for retrieving the data. We can retrieve anything, like if we want to retrieve the columns, if we want to retrieve any row, then we can do that with the help of data query language. It is also known as data retrievable language. Now comes data control language, where we will be able to control the data. So next is transaction control languages. We'll cover all of them in more depth one by one when we'll run the code. And now, y- I will cover all of them, don't worry. Okay, fine. So you have to do one thing today. You have to install SQL Server and Management Studio. So these both are the links for installing. And I will be also using some of the sample database. Will come up to this Northwind database by today only. So let me first open SQL. As you were asking about the different languages, I have also prepared about them. Like see, we will be covering DDL commands, where we will cover how to create, alter, drop, and truncate. And then comes DML. Within DML, we provide updation, insertion, delete, and merge. These all commands come under DML. And if I talk about transactional control commands, begin, rollback, commit. Obviously, how we can begin, how we can roll back, I'll come up to this. So first of all, let me explain you. So this is how it will appear after getting it downloaded. If you will be stuck somewhere, then you could ask. I'll also tell you the link for the video from where you can download it. Okay, let me first show you that. No, it is not in Excel. Actually, it is a DB. It is a dummy DB, we can say. A sample database which we can use. No, we won't get that. Ah, yeah. No, no, we won't use the Access one. Actually, we will be using the when we will go with. I'll tell you, if you'll watch the video, you will check there is a CMD um term used for the databases which will be used in SQL. So those very types of databases can be used in SQL. Let me tell you the link. Okay, so this is the video which you can follow for installing a SQL. So, or you can also go up with, if you are having the login access, then you can go up with the, see here. There are so many parts over here in the pre-recordings, and the first recording is just explaining about the SQL Server installation, SQL Management Studio installation, and Northwind database. See, let me show you the link for Northwind database. Yeah, this is the link. Open it. And when you will scroll a bit down, you get the database. See, download Northwinds SQL. Yeah, the latest for Northwind database. No, you can go with any of them. Like if you'll follow this link, you'll get this one very easily. Okay, so you can download. Ha, yeah. Actually, I'm using the latest version of SQL, which is 2018, and so you can download that one also. And if you download any older version as well, still Northwind database will be supportive to it. So you don't need to mind anymore. Okay, fine. So this is how it will appear. We remove this. You can open the new query window from here. And first of all, here we will be discussing about the DDL commands. So as I had already told you that within DDL commands, we will be covering about create, alter, drop, truncate, and rename. So these all commands are covered in DDL commands. First of all, I'll tell you how to create a database, because before we create a table, we need a database to store in it. And one more important thing, when you will download SQL for the first time, you will get some system databases, or we can say default databases, and these all are they: master, model, MSDB, and TabDB. As this much databases or the tables that are present in these databases are not enough, that's why I'm using some sample databases to explain you the commands of SQL. Okay, so I have also explained how to attach this database in SQL in the video. You can just follow it. If you are stuck somewhere, then we can I can resolve your query tomorrow. Okay, so let's start. For creating a database, you just need to go with create database and give the database name as like whatever you need. Create database and database name. That's it. And you can execute this command and see command is completed successfully. And now if I refresh this, see, I'm getting this database added. Fine. This is how you can create your own database. And now if I talk about, basically, as I had told you that how create command will be used. Basically, we can't only create database and tables with the help of create command. We can also create procedures, triggers, functions. We'll also come up to all of them while covering the concepts of triggers, functions, and procedures. So for now, I'll just explain you about creating a database and a table, or how you can add columns within the table. Fine. Now if I talk about a table, how to create it, like create table, you can provide the table name like stu. One more specific thing. See, if you want to create any table in any specific database, like I want to use this database for storing all the tables, then I can select it from here, from the drop down list. Okay. Or else you can also do one more thing. Let us assume that for now I'm using master database and now I want to rechange it. So I'll go with use PR. If you will execute this command and see, it has changed the database from master database up to PR database. So this is how you can use a command, or else you can just go to the drop down list and change it. Okay. So now for creating the table, you have to follow up this command, create table, table name. Then comes column names, whichever you want to keep, like name. Name will be of varchar data type, and when you are specifying varchar data type, you have to provide the precision or length for the data. Like the data can be of 20 characters. So I'm just providing the limitation of 20, and then we can go with the age, which will be of integer data type. Let's go up with this much columns, and now just execute this and see the table is created. And how can you check whether the table is created or not? We just need to go with select star from second and see. So if I execute this, the table is created. Now the question is, how can I see the schema of the table? Like how many columns are there, what is the data type of the columns, and all these things. So for that, I'll go up with a store procedure sp underscore help and the table name. So basically, what are store procedures? Store procedures are groups of commands which can be executed over and over. So this store procedure is a system inbuilt store procedure. That means the system has created by its own. We can also create our own store procedures. I'll come up to the procedures topic um, in the coming sessions, then we'll cover it in more depth. And for now, we just need to learn that the store procedures which are inbuilt, which are created by the system by its own, that start with the prefix as sp underscore. Okay, that's all. So we can take the help of the store procedure to see the schema of the table which we have created. As you can see, the name of the table is 2 and it is stored in Debian, and the type is user table obviously, and there are two columns and the column names are defined as well as the data types. See, this is of varchar data type, this is of integer data type, and here if you check this one, label. What do we mean by this? That means null values are allowed in our table, because now for now we have just created a simple table. We have not provided any keys to control the consistency, inconsistency, or concurrency. So this is just a simple table, and see here it's saying that no identity is provided and there is no primary or foreign key located with any column or attribute. So that's all. So this is how you can check the schema of the table. Fine. Yeah, why? Because integer data type contains 4 bytes of length. That's why it's providing 4. Okay, now let's move to the next command, that is alter command. Now see, the table is already existing in our DB. Now if I want to add some columns, how can I do that? So for that you can go with alter table, table name, add column, and the column name, let us add a column as we are done with name, age. Let's go with address. Hello, let me check the internet connection. Can you hear me now? Okay, fine. So for adding some more columns, or for removing the columns, we need to go with the alter command. So first of all, I'm telling you how to add any column. So for that, you need to go with alter table name, add column name, and then you can go with the data type. Like I want to provide the data type as varchar and 30. Fine. Alter table name and data type. If I execute this and see, the command has completed successfully, and now if I um, run the select query, this time I'm getting 3 columns added in the table. So this is how you can add any column. So I don't want to cover all the commands, all the DDL commands today, because you have to install it first so that you can um, go with the practice on the way. So we are just going with this much commands, and let me explain you about all of them in a for a review. Like, as I have already told you about the DDL commands. So basically we'll use the update command, insert command, delete and merge. Do you know what is merge? Merge means if we want to merge the data of two tables, then how can we do that? We'll also cover that thing, and I will also tell you the difference between, see, as I have listed out over here, within DDL commands we have drop and truncate, and here in DML command I'm having a delete command. So what is the difference between drop, delete and truncate? Let me explain you this also. So basically, let us assume that this is some table. These are 3 tables where I want to perform drop, delete and truncate. In the first table, I want to drop the data. Dropping means just deleting the whole table from our database. It won't contain any schema, it won't contain any columns or any any values. It will just remove the whole table from our database. On the other hand, if I talk about delete, basically delete comes with um, another command, that is delete from table name where. It will also contain a where clause. So within delete command, we will also be using the where clause. So how where clause is helpful? Basically, where clause will be helpful for deleting some of the records. If we want to delete some records from our table, we don't want to delete the whole table, or we don't want to delete the whole records, then we can take the help of this delete command. And if I talk about truncate command, basically what truncate command will do is, truncate command will just delete all the records, but it will keep the schema available for us. That means the columns will not get deleted. The columns which we have created will not get deleted. It will remain as it is. But the records which were placed in the table will get removed. So this was the basic difference between drop, delete and truncate. Yeah, see? See, if you want to remove the, like if you want to delete the memory which is allocated to the table, then you can just drop the table, because dropping will remove the table, as well as the memory which was allocated will be released. So you can use the drop command. But if you don't want to release the memory, like you want to use that table afterwards at some time, at some point, then you can just delete some of them, some of the records, and then you can keep the records which are needed. Now if you want to change, okay, yeah, yes, no, Yeah, you can use all of them like individually. You don't need to depend on drop and delete and like when you want to use the drop command to delete your whole details with the columns and with the values, then you can just use the drop command. You don't need to go with delete and truncate. I'm just talking about different conditions, like the according to the user's requirement. Sometimes the user need to delete all the records. Like as you said, you are a user and you want to delete your table with all your records. Then you can just use the drop command. Okay, fine. And now if I talk about the insert command, so as I had told you, with the help of insert command, we can insert as many records as we want in our table. And you were talking about TCL commands. Basically, why I was not explaining you about TCL commands at that time, because TCL commands, we will run this TCL commands and DCL commands on Oracle. Like this will be used in Oracle. Let me tell you. So it's DDL, DML, TCL. Okay, fine. I have removed the Oracle portion from here. So basically, what happens is, let us assume that you have deleted something which you want it back. So can you do that in file system? No, we can't do that. But on the other hand, if I talk about database, like let us assume that you use the drop command or you have used the delete command to delete some of the records and now you want those records back. So for that, we will be using the rollback transaction. So basically what rollback will do, the rollback will give all the records back to us which we have deleted through the query. Okay, but to use this rollback, what we need is we need a begin command always. Whenever you want to use a rollback condition, you have to start with begin and then you have to go with the query like delete anything, and then if you want to remove or get them back, then you can just use a rollback condition, and that's all. So this is how a rollback and begin is used. And now if I talk about the next one, that is commit. See, let us assume that there is some admin. Yeah, yes. No, we don't need to put the begin again. Yeah, yeah. No, what I'm saying is whenever you are deleting some records, if you'll start with the command begin, yeah, okay, fine. Okay, fine. So I was talking about the commit command. So let us assume that there is an admin and he has made some changes, like he had added some data, and after that he has removed some data with the help of a rollback. Let us assume that this is done with the help of rollback. And now, after this is done, he just want to commit this. Why commit is needed basically? Because the admin don't want anyone to make changes in this DB. Then what he'll do, he'll just use this commit command. After using this commit command, we won't get back the changes. Like whatever changes the admin has performed, we can't roll it back. Let us assume that, let me tell you through an example. Like let us assume that we are having the columns as name, age, and address. Fine. And here I have the first name is ABC and the age is 1, 2, and the address is something like okay GH. Fine. And now I'm having another which is 16. Okay, that's all. So now let us assume that I'm deleting this record, this one. And after deleting this, I am performing the commit command. So why basically I'm using this commit command? So that any other admin when will come to this DB, he may not be able to roll back this this transaction which I have performed. So I don't want anybody to access this data which I have deleted. So what I'll do, I'll just commit this command so that whatever I have deleted could not be rolled back later on. So have you got what we mean by commit command and how we can use it? Okay, fine. So now lastly, then comes the DQL command or DRL command. So as I have already told you that with the help of DRL or DQL command, we need to select the queries specific, we need to select the commands, sorry, the values which we want from our table. So that's why it is known as data query language or data retrievable language. So here we are not performing the DCL commands, the data control language commands. So I'll tell you about them also when we will perform or when we'll work with Oracle. So these all are the commands which will be performed in SQL. Fine. So today we have just covered the create command and the alter command. So from tomorrow onwards, we will learn how to drop, how to truncate, and the rest of the commands. Let me tell you one more command from here, like how we can rename any table. Like let us assume that here we are having the name as PR for our table. And now I want to change the name from here to student. Now, how can we do that? For renaming any table, you need to use one more stored procedure, which is inbuilt one. And you have to provide, after that, you have to provide your old table name, then give a comma, and then the new table name. Just a semicolon. And with the help of this command, you can just rename your table. Uh, uh, could not be found in the database. Sorry, the table name is not Priya, it's true. Okay, and that's fine. And it's saying that changing any part of an object name could break script or procedures. So we should not do this. Actually, this is not appreciated, but if it is much needed, then we can perform this. Okay. So that's all for today. Tomorrow, please download SQL and add Northwind database so that we can perform all of these commands and you can also practice them side by side so that you may not face any kind of problems while learning this ETL course. Okay, fine. So, do you have any query up to here? Like anything which you have not got it? Okay. Yeah, I'll send you my email address today only. Okay, fine. Yeah. Okay. 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 And thank you for joining. Bye. Okay, bye.